Yo, when I spit bars in a rave, man, I go hard like Santan.
Yo, people, what is good? Welcome back to another episode of the New Spurs Order. I'm on hosting duties this week, so if you don't recognize my voice, it's Tobes, aka Tapping Tobes, aka NSO Goldberg. I'm here with two contrasting men in terms of their attitude towards Spurs. In fact, you know what? I think you guys are on the same boat now, because it just used to be Jack. He was like a bit of a lone island in his initially negative but real reviews on Spurs, and now Tops. I guess I've introduced you both. Tops, your disgust with Spurs just seeps through by the week and just increases and increases and increases. How are you guys doing, man?
Yeah. Do you know what? When you choose to ignore Spurs, life is actually great. You know, life is actually all right. So football aside, yeah, fine, brilliant.
I mean, yeah, man. A lot has happened since you've been on the last pod. You're a married man now. You've had your nice holiday. I mean, you've had a lot of things to distract you away from the sinking ship that is Tottenham Hotspur. But unfortunately, the likes of myself and Tops have had to watch this shit in HD, man. Yeah, man, it's not been pretty. And Tops, I think, how many games now since we've been to the new ground? Since we've been to the Spurs ground, it's Milan, right? When was that? March?
That was March. Yeah,
early March.
Yeah.
I think it was early March. So yeah, man, it's coming up to 2 months since certain man have set foot into that stadium, and bruh, I mean, where do we start, man? Where do we start? Stellini out, Mason in. Obviously, it's been a hectic couple of days for Mason within his first sort of week in his second stint as the interim manager. Obviously, he's had to contend with playing both Man United, who are fourth in the league, and then Liverpool, who are fifth in the league, home and away respectively. Not the easiest sort of entrance to his second stint in the job. Obviously, we know how the Man United result panned out, but I guess let's talk about thoughts like heading into the game. Like, I know obviously the game's a couple of days behind us, but what was the general perception heading into this match? Did you guys have any belief, optimism, any sort of, were you looking for anything different from Spurs, from Mason? I want to hear the gist, man. Talk to me.
I think on the chat I did say would turn up. It was one of those games where I thought would stupidly turn up for no reason other than to just get, I don't know. I just had a little gut feeling that we'd actually just perform to some degree, and that, you know, it will probably be for the worse for us, because at the end of the day, we tend to perform when we don't need to, and when the pressure's on, that's when we sort of buckle, and us actually turning up is not good for us, because at the end of the day, it will allow guys like Ryan Mason to, you know, be a manager that people might be encouraged to see next season. So I had a feeling we were going to always do the wrong thing, which is, you know, losing, but then winning or drawing at least, or putting up a good performance again, for me, isn't what I want to see, because we're going to have this guy's manager next season.
Yeah, man. Listen, I guess your views are shared by me. I'm sure they're shared by Tops. I mean, Tops, just before we talk on the game itself, let's focus a bit on Mason. He showed us some good things. I can't lie. He showed us some good things against Man United. But I feel like when the bar was so low, doing the bare basics will almost get you in the graces of a lot of Spurs fans now. And by the bare basics, I mean simply coaching this team to be able to attack. I think he's getting a lot of plaudits, and rightly so, for Spurs being able to create chances, etc., etc. But it begs the question: should it be difficult for a squad with the talent that we have up top to create chances?
No, like, I mean, to answer your question, frankly, absolutely not. I mean, we're talking a team that is really full of lots of fully fledged internationals, guys that have played at this level for a long time. And to be honest with you, if we're being real, lots of these guys, you know, you can probably say it's a mixture of players downing tools or systems or tactical setups, basically not allowing us to play in the way that we want to. I do think that, like, I have nothing against the guy. I actually feel like when you listen to him, I think he speaks very well. He clearly has, you know, he's done everything by the book. He's basically been some level of coach in the academy, and now amongst the last sort of 3 managers in Jose, in Conte, and Stellini. So, you know, he's put in some yards, and he clearly has a rapport with the players, because for the last 2 managers that have been sacked, well, you know, he's been given the opportunity to kind of just lead the team in their absence. I do still feel that this isn't kind of someone that I think is kind of big enough to galvanize us as a club. I kind of feel like where he is in his managerial career, he probably needs to take on a smaller job, and maybe in the championship, and see where that lands. You know, to get some proper minutes under his belt. But I think for now, I can't fault him. Like, I feel that he cares. You can see him on the sidelines. He has set us up in a way that is allowing us to create more chances. We're actually seeing a bit of a better output in terms of positions and chances, position taken up and chances created by people like Son, people like Perisic. You know, even on the midweek game against Man United, Kane was almost given a role where he kind of allowed the game, really took the game by the scruff of the neck, and we allowed ourselves to push ourselves, or almost to drag ourselves out of that 2-0 sort of deficit to a point where we could almost have won the game. You know, I am still a little bit skeptical on, but honestly, like clout, I think like in pro football at this level, it does carry some weight. And I also kind of feel that like a little bit thing that I just a little bit, not worried, but I've been like, some of the substitutions he's made. But again, that you know, that comes with long-term management experience. But for now, he's doing as best as he can do. But then, bro, how's he gonna do any worse than the man before him? Like I mean, he's taken us from a -5 to 0 or to 1. Like, that's literally where we're at, and that's not even an exaggeration.
Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, when you get stonked like 5 or 6-1, lose to Bournemouth, drop points against Southampton and Everton, I mean, the only way really is up. Like, the only way really is up. But however, you're right. I think considering the circumstances in which he's walked into, I think he deserves some credit for being able to at least get Spurs doing some of the basics that you expect of a side with the players that we have in our squad. So I literally echo your thoughts. I echo your thoughts on the concerns around the sentimentality and clout with him in this job and the temptation to sort of keep him in this job. I echo your thoughts on the inexperience with the subs, which we'll touch on as we deep dive into the game. But I also echo your thoughts on him as a person. Like, I must admit, I've been abusive at times when the topic of Mason comes up, because I feel like it's not so much a hate towards him, it's more a hate towards the fans that are propelling him into a pedestal that he literally isn't on or hasn't earned. And it really irks me, because in my head I'm thinking, why are you speaking about him like this? Like, what has he done for you to speak about him like this, sort of him being one of our own? It just doesn't really make any sense. And like Top said, you got to earn your chops. Don't care how talented you are as a person. Don't care how highly well thought of you are within the ranks. He speaks well. I like his mentality. I like the fact that he's got the confidence to take this job even on an interim basis, and even like put himself in contention to actually want the job full time. But you got to earn the job. Do you get what I'm saying? You have to earn the job. You can't just be given it. This ain't work experience, right? Spurs are actually a mess, and it needs a manager with with a good level of experience to come in and steady the ship. But we'll talk on the manager towards the end of this pod. But let's actually get back into the game. Obviously, we played Liverpool, ended in a 3-3 draw or 4-3 loss. Sorry, it should have ended in a 3-3 draw, and we'll talk about why it didn't. I don't know, guys. Jack, I guess I'm going to come to you on this. I don't really want to spend too much time talking on the starting lineup because I feel like the starting lineup is what it is right now, to be fair. But what is your take on that first half, man? Because, boy, please break it down to me. I couldn't believe what I was seeing the first 15 minutes.
I missed the first 3 goals, didn't it? I ended up, when I came in, we won that game 3-1, basically. But, yeah, I think looking at the goals, you got Romero, who was on the end of 1 or 2 of the challenges, the penalty especially. But you got people like Dyer that set him up and provide that danger around him anyway in the first instance. So it's a collective thing ultimately, but it's absolutely tragic. It's just completely and utterly tragic. But it's not anything we haven't seen before. It's not exclusive to this game. What we've seen, the mistakes, the individual errors, it's something that's been happening not just all season long, for the past several seasons now. And I just feel like that disease has spread to our newer players like Romero, and I don't know what he's doing as well, diving in the way he did, but it's just completely shambolic. But it's also very reactive as well with how we manage games. And again, you can give Ryan Mason all the credit, in the past 2 games for the way we come out in the second half. But in the first half of the season, we were known for that. We were known for being that second half team anyway under Conte. So what's really changed? What's really changed?
I think with the whole defensive shambles that we are, I saw a stat on Match of the Day. Obviously, the Newcastle result inflates this, but it's no surprise that I think Spurs have now conceded the most goals in the opening minutes of games based on this season. We are now, I think we're on 57 goals conceded in 34 games. So I actually did the research on a stream I did recently, and that's a rate of 1.68 goals per game that we're conceding. So at the rate we're going at, Spurs are on course to concede just under 64 Premier League goals this season. And I also did some further research. The most amount of goals we've conceded in a Premier League campaign is 66 in the 1992-1993 season. And I think outside of that, we've only conceded 60 plus goals 2 other times in the Premier League. So this is, I feel like it's fair to say that in modern times, I mean, in the last probably 15 to 20 years, this is statistically the worst defensive performance we've seen from a Spurs side, which actually beggars belief when you consider the type of manager we had at the helm, i.e. Conte, who prides himself on his teams being defensively resolute. And then when it's pretty mad, man. It's pretty mad. Tops, I'm going to come to you on this, right? Let's actually break down some of the goals. The first goal we conceded, for instance, I guess to the naked eye, it's good football from Liverpool. They started off well. Wow. Flip's sake. Someone's broken in my kitchen, my sister. Yeah. But either way, they started the game really, really fast. Got in our faces. But I felt like with Spurs, there's just a lack of urgency when the opposition's on the ball. And it's something that I've noticed in pretty much 90% of our matches this season. Whenever teams have the ball, there's no urgency from us to get it back. And when we have the ball, it's so easy for teams to pen us in.
Facts. I think that is become a big issue for us. Like Yao mentioned, me and Yao, we had a discussion a couple of weeks ago, and he mentioned it to me, the fact that sometimes, even with regards to the press, I think I almost like to believe that it starts from the front. And if you look at the way that we set up with regards to Kane and Son, there's lots of moments where actually these guys, that's not really in their it's not really in their quota. It's not really in their game plan anymore. And to be honest with you, when you're going away to Liverpool as well, you know that initially off the start, you know, no matter what they do, they're gonna start strong. They're going to start strong because they're going to try and get an early goal here or there, and you have to kind of be prepared for that, whether or not you match them with fire, or you have to be at least defensively sort of resolute to be able to withstand that. And sadly, in the last 3 games, we just haven't been. And I don't know whether it's the way we're approaching these games before the games. I don't know if it's when we're actually in the games, how we set up, or whether it's just like a genuine lack of just concentration in the most important part of the game, which is the start of the match. Because you look at the game against Newcastle, we got absolutely blamed. Like, players couldn't even react, and we were still getting blamed. And you look at the game against Man United, we didn't play particularly badly in those early sort of moments of the game, but the first opportunity that basically United were given in those areas, they were able to then create a shooting opportunity with no press, and they were able to score. And then again, similarly against Liverpool, you're not looking, okay, first few minutes into the game, stick in your positions, stay with your men. And that ball to Jones, I mean, it's a decent ball, but I just don't think that, like, our defender, Porro, concentrated enough to be able to realise that he was being pulled across with Romero, and the fact that there was a guy at the back post that was ready to basically, you know, it was a good finish, and it was a well-created goal. But again, a lot of these goals, I look at them from a defensive perspective, and I just see avoidable. And it's just frustrating because, like you said, with this defensive stuff, I'm looking at players that are either set up in a way where they can't perform their defensive duties adequately, or there are players who really are just very poor defenders. And I don't think they're poor defenders. I just think some of them they just don't concentrate. They just don't concentrate. Like, I look at Porro, and we knew some of the numbers. We knew that what we were getting from him was an attacking fullback.
Yeah.
But I just look at a player now who's probably void of some sort of confidence. But, you know, teams are clearly now targeting that right side. They're looking at that right side and they're thinking, how can we create maybe an overload or an area where he has to do some defensive action? And that first goal, it's avoidable. It's avoidable. I even think, arguably, the second goal is avoidable because I feel that even though it was a really good finish from Diaz, the way he was able to kind of almost like draw it back towards the goal as it was coming behind him, I still think Romero, as the kind of player he is, he's got to meet that. He's got to meet that.
Yeah.
You know, so those 2 like defensive actions, and then obviously the third, you're looking at a player who is a good player but is playing poorly. I mean, really poorly. And you know that you as a player are going to go to ground in areas where you feel that you can win the ball. But then you look at the timing of the tackle and the area that he was in, it just doesn't read well, you know? So when you tell me those stats, it doesn't surprise me. You know, we're talking about a potential for 65 plus goals in a 38 game season. That is unimaginable. Like, I can't tell you how bad that is. It's unimaginable.
We didn't even concede. I don't think we conceded that even under the season with AVB and Sherwood. It's bad. It's real bad.
We cannot stop the Rock defensively. Everybody is getting goals against us. Bournemouth, United, Saints. Everyone's getting goals against us. We cannot stop the Rock. And I think that is something that, like, we'll talk about it later in terms of the squad, but that's something that deeply needs looking at, man.
Can I just say something that Conte's fault?
I do. You know what, Jack? Though I do think it's a mix, man. It's a combination of Conte not coaching this team well enough this season. I truly believe that, simply because I feel like he failed to change or adapt to the personnel that he had this season. And I also feel like we've got some really bad defenders. I do believe that. And I also think that we just don't really have a clue what we're doing on the football pitch. And I also think there are some players that are woefully out of form. like Top just said, it's a culmination of so many things that has led us to this point where we're in now, where we actually need change at a coaching level, at a playing level. We just need change, man. We need change. And I think
we've needed that
go
for
on.
a long time, though. So regardless of, I agree. I think Conte's lack of proactive approach hasn't helped the players now. So the players aren't used to playing on some level of a front foot, and they have to be reactive. And they've always had to be reactive since for the season, but that hasn't helped either way. But like you said, or like you were about to say before I interrupted, it's everything. Everything would need to change before him. So
Yeah.
I feel like any manager that came or will come needs to be given the right resources and the right platform to implement his style of play successfully. And when we just haven't given anyone that, even Jose, who we berated. So I think we're just gonna have to wait for a very big long-term change to come, because it's not going to come in the next season or two.
Yeah, no, it's a fair point, and even just zeroing in on some of the goals as well, right? We can talk about personnel change, and of course, absolutely. But one of the guys who I feel has to go, no matter what, is Eric Dyer, man. For the second and third goals, obviously Romero will cop the flack, and rightly so, because he's meant to be our best defender. And in these moments, I feel like he can and should. He has to do better, and he's been criticized all season by the fan base, and rightly so. But I really think that Eric Dyer hides behind Romero's faults in both these goals. The second goal, Gakpo gets in behind Dyer. It's Dyer that vacates his position, lets Gakpo run in behind him, squares it to Diaz for a really good finish. I must say, really good finish from Diaz. But the third one flies out of his position like a ball in a china shop and just completely clatters into Mo Salah, leaving Romero and Gakpo just there, empty space. Obviously, Romero with rush of blood goes down and shouldn't really go down, and we can see the third. And it's just poor, man. It's just really, really poor. And we're never going to prosper when we have guys who are taking these decisions on the football pitch. It just doesn't make sense.
Absolutely right. Like, you know, I think I've said on this pod enough what my feelings are on him. Like, watching him on the weekend, he looked punch drunk. He just looked like, on the ball, he didn't look confident. Off the ball, positionally, defensive actions, recoveries, he just looked all over the place. And it's just like, we're now seeing more and more performances from this guy where he's actively giving up positions that are detrimental to the team from a defensive perspective. And it's just like, I was thinking about it today, and I was looking at the squad, and I was actually thinking, man, we actually need two centre-backs. And when I say two centre-backs, the reason I say so is because I don't even think at this point he's worth even giving a new contract. But I think that we need to now, maybe based on what Romero is as a player, if we play in a free, we actually might have to employ Romero as a central centre-back now. There's no way I can see that we can start any kind of defence with two other guys who we need alongside Romero when he is the guy that has been he's been playing in the Premier League and has been playing probably at the highest level of our defence. And I actually feel that like his game suits the position that Dyer sort of plays, because even though yes he is very rash and whatnot, he does somewhat know gauge position quite well. And when he needs to make that final sort of last ditch tackle, if he needs to make it, or he needs to make that front press, he makes it well. Plus, he's an excellent ball player.
But you know what it is though with Romero though, I think if you're playing a back three and you're the centre back, you're the one who sort of sets the tone. You lead, you basically direct the back line, and I just don't really see those qualities in Romero. I feel like he's someone who needs to be told what to do. He's really good at what he does, but he's someone who needs to be told what to do. Do you get what I'm saying? And I don't think
I absolutely hear it. It's just that, you know, like I even thought about this guy as a squad member, but I think it's time. I actually think it's time now. It's time. I don't really want to go on about it too long with him, because I'm just seeing performances after performances where he's letting his teammates down, and even his own actions, they're just not at a level that we require at this point anymore. They're just not at a level. They're not at a level. Like,
it's about partnerships at the end of the day, centre backs, and you can have two good defenders forming an amazing partnership, and you can have one top defender and one decent enough defender that can still perform just as equally a good partnership.
Exactly.
And I think, and I'd say I'm more inclined to agreeing with Toby in the sense that Romero is not a leading presence. Romero is not a commanding player who has to have those leadership qualities to sort of assist his fellow centre back. He's the one that is the aggressor, and the one that like I've said, needs to be told what to do, and he needs to be told a lot of the time to just slow it down, calm down a little bit. But I think what VVD, when he came in, him and Matic, or whoever he played alongside, it changed the complete dynamic of the team when Klopp started winning trophies. So yeah, I think having Romero, I don't know what to do with Romero in the sense that I'm not comfortable with him in the back two. I'm not comfortable with that idea at all. But also in the back three with him on Poro's side, I think that's still a bit concerning as well. Someone's got to really cover that defensive midfield position, has to really do a job covering that side as well. So it's a tricky one because we do need two centre backs. Ideally, we need three, but that's not going to happen. So goodness knows what's going to happen next season and the seasons after.
I think he can play in the 4, but I think he just, I really think he can. But I get why you have the concerns because of the performances he's put in this season. But I think moving on from the goals we conceded and our defense, let's actually talk about some of the positives that we had in this game, right? Because in the end of the day, we did score 3 goals from 3-0 down to come back. I would like to think the first goal was a nice little bit of play, man. Nice little bit of play involving Perisic, who, touch wood, the last 2 games, I think he's actually been bright. I think he's been diligent in his defensive duties, and whilst his crossing was a little bit hit and miss against Man United, his overall game wasn't bad. And I felt like Liverpool, I think he did okay on that left-hand side. What did you guys make of the first goal and even the second goal as well?
Yeah, no, I thought the first goal was actually really well. It was a really well made goal in terms of we were quite, even though it was 3-0, and you would think that these guys' heads would be on Pluto, but actually they kind of played from the back quite calmly, patiently, a really nice interchange in the middle, which then was able to, which finally came to Skip, who played a really good timed pass into Perisic, who honestly, that quick dribbling action and actually decision pass to send.
Talk about how he mangled Van Dijk's legs.
Send Van Dijk into the
he turned Van Dijk into Superhead.
But then to also do that and to deliver a accurate assist to Kane in the middle, I think it was a really good goal. And honestly, if I'm thinking about the way the first half went after I watched most of it back, it was the only real positive in the game for the first half for us, really. So that kind of gave me some sort of positive feeling. I didn't really know what to expect coming in the second half, but what did happen in the second half, I was somewhat impressed with. I liked a lot of the positions that we were taking up, especially in the first half. I found that Trent was moving almost like an inverted fullback, the way these fullbacks do these days. And he really had lots of free rein in that first sort of half. But the second half, the areas that we were taking up, especially on his side, were just forcing him to basically go back and be a defender. And actually, from a like Tottenham perspective, we really did stretch them. We were getting into positions that was forcing Konate to really be on his game. We were getting positions that was pulling Van Dijk out of position. And actually, I felt that we were slowly coming into the game. We hit the post twice with a really good effort from Son, who was really unfortunate with that, and then also another really tight sort of effort from Romero. So as the second half was developing, even though it was kind of still late-ish in the half before we scored our second goal, it looked, again, I keep saying it looked better, but it's always going to look better if your starting point is rubbish, is utter rubbish. It's always going to look better. So at that point, I was just kind of, I was unmoved. If I'm honest with you, like most of the games I've been this season, I was unmoved, but I was like, this is better than what I've watched. That's what I'm saying.
You know what? After the first and second goals, I was like, you know what? Fine. They sucked me back in, and I hate that they did that. And it's very difficult for me to switch off from Spurs. I can claim to say I don't care and stuff, but I definitely care. I care a lot. And after the first goal, I do think that we did start to create some chances. I remember even Kulusevski nicked the ball, blind pass from Andy Robertson, and he was in on goal. And he hit it straight at Alisson. And then obviously Son's offside chance in the first half that hit the post. And then in the second half as well, I felt like it was good. It was refreshing to finally, after Man United as well. So United and Liverpool, it's refreshing to actually see Spurs attacking with intent and trying to create some opportunities at goal. And I feel like Romero showed the good and bad parts of his game. I felt that pass, calm, composed, picks up the ball. I don't really know why Liverpool weren't putting any pressure on him, but he's allowed to take the ball like basically just beyond the halfway line. And he plays a really good pass to Son, and Son slots past Alisson again at Anfield. And that is now Son's fourth goal in his last 5 games. This guy really is a streaky player, isn't he? And I feel like Son basically being pushed further up the pitch is the consequence of that it's a good consequence. Sorry, if there's such a thing that exists. The outcome of that is Son scoring more goals. It's no coincidence that the higher up the pitch he's playing, the more shots. Forget even the goals. The more shots he's actually having at goal. That run that he made. The outside to in run on Konate's side. How many times have we seen that in past seasons? And compared to this season, we've not really seen that enough. And I even think as well, even against Man United, Mason put in Son right wing. I feel like these days, just after 2 matches I'm seeing with Ryan Mason, I've barely seen Son get the ball in our half. Barely. Like, I don't see it happen. And that's the way it should be. You need this guy further up the pitch. And I'll keep saying, I don't care how poor he's played, because he has been pants this season. If there's one thing this guy knows, it's the back of the net. You need to get this guy as far up the pitch as possible. Let him get as many attempts at goal, because the chances are he's going to put at least one of them away. So, yeah, man. And then I guess let's talk about the third goal. Jack, I think I want you to talk on this one as well, because I ain't going to speak on this one, but you talk on this one.
It was the worst goal I've ever seen in my life. Weak header. No, do you know what? Yeah, it's just one of those. I don't think, did he intend for it to bounce down onto the roof?
Look how sad you don't even sound happy that you don't even sound happy to hear that he scored. I feel like you're sad that he scored.
Yeah, and rightly so. Rightly so.
Listen, I can't have this. I want all the ammunition in the world so that this guy is out of our club. I didn't even want to draw yesterday. I wanted us to lose badly, yeah, so that we can shake our fans up, any kind of apathy. So, wait, now we've got some redeeming elements for our fan base to be like, maybe Mason has something in him. So I wasn't really happy with that, with any of it, to be honest. But yeah, it was a well-timed run. He was just onside as well, like by the skin of his teeth. So yeah, it was good delivery in, and yeah, he did well to get on the end of it. And boom, took his shirt off and just to hold another L. So yeah, it is what it is.
Tops, I know you're chomping at the bit. You've been asking for this for weeks. And
I've been asking
after basically a whole season Richarlison has finally scored his first league goal, man. Talk me through it, man. Talk. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know your thoughts, brother.
Honestly, like, I have nothing to say on this because, to be honest with you, why am I discussing the guy scoring one goal in May? It's basically May. Like, I just don't understand. We can say all we want to say about this guy, all the qualities that he possesses, but frankly, I'm not listening because we signed a player for 60 million to score goals, to play in a role where he could supplement the goals that we scored last season with more goals. He hasn't done that this season. Not only has he not done that, but his performances have been honestly near on atrocious. And it's hilarious because we're talking about a guy who has more yellow cards than actual goals this season. Like I can't sit here and be like, "Oh, Richarlison, well done on your first goal." I'm not going to give you props, bro. And I'm you know what? I'm going to be patient. Next season, I'm going to wait and see what he does because he hasn't had game time. The World Cup, he's not played in his position. Fine, that's fine. But I can still tell you that his season's been completely cheeks. Like, I can still say that, and I can be confident in saying that just because he scored one goal, doesn't change anything in terms of how his season's gone. It doesn't.
Mid player does meaty things. Like what's the surprise?
Bro, water's wet. Bro, water's wet.
Water is wet. You got more patience than me though. I'll tell you that because he can be a probably third or fourth on the list to go this season as well. Maybe not that high.
No, man. Like I don't know. I just don't feel confident because he's played at such a poor level this season. Like, I've watched games of him. I'm just like, before when I watched this guy, I was like, you know what? The off the ball stuff, yeah, it's moving me. We need someone like this because Kane ain't doing it, Son ain't doing it, Kulusevski's never really been known for it. But then the game against Sheffield United, I saw things that I didn't like that day, and ever since then, I've seen performances which have been really abject, touches really heavy, movements, runs in the wrong areas. Just looks like a player who just doesn't knows what he's doing. And it's just like, if you want to pay this amount of money for a player, it's like anything. What's my return on investment? Can I get 5 goals and assists? Probably can't get that. Can I get 10 goals and 1 assist? I'm not getting that. All right then, maybe no goals and assists. Can I get some good performances? Something that I can look back on SofaScore and say, you know what, all right, he was unlucky. I can't even get that. So for me, I'm sorry. I really wish I could give a positive review on this guy, but everything that he's done till now, it's been so poor that the one goal that he's picked up, it's a goal. Congratulations to him. He's got a league goal for Spurs. But then it's just like, okay, like, question to you guys. Do you think, based on the timing of the goal and the way he scored, was that celebration over the top or was it right?
I think it was right.
I'd say
it was right.
Yeah, I agree with Toby. I think it wasn't. I think it was kind of warranted considering where we were. So as much as I criticize him, that's kind of fair enough.
Exactly, and similarly, as much as I disliked him this season, I thought this was the perfect kind of moment to vindicate yourself against a team that you don't like, against a team that you used to play for their rivals, and for it to be your first goal. But then it just annoys me that this is what is now transpired because not even 30 seconds later, we go and lose the match. Everything this guy seems to be involved in this season is just it feels laughable.
Yeah, man. When it rains, it pours. Honestly, but listen, I'm happy he scored his first goal. I'm not obviously happy with his season, but I'm happy he scored his first goal. And like I said to you in the touchline chat, I genuinely believe that with consistent game time in a system that can actually get his strengths highlighted more than his weaknesses, I think this guy will score goals for Spurs. I genuinely believe that if he is kept, right? But let's obviously talk about the fourth goal, man. We have to talk about the goal he conceded. Great finish from Diogo Jota, but my word, man, this Lucas Moura guy, this is the second time in the space of a month he's come on, and he's cost Spurs. Like, he's literally offering Spurs the reverse of what a super sub is meant to do. He's a stinky sub. He's literally a stinky sub. He's coming on and he's giving teams the result, bro. It doesn't even make sense. Who wants to talk on this? Jack, you can probably speak on this, man, because I think you, at this point, you have to sort of, you can't just blame Lucas Moura. You actually have to blame the staff, the coaching staff that are allowing this guy to come on the pitch and get minutes, especially in the wake of news that Mundell potentially is off to Anderlecht. There are players that haven't even had many starts or many minutes, and yet Lucas Moura, who is leaving the club in like 2 months' time, who's been injured for the majority of the season, is getting minutes ahead of you. Like, what type of message does that send?
Yeah, I won't blame like Mason for that. I think when you got to throw the kitchen sink at something, you got to go all out. But yeah, the issues are before him, and I think that having him at the club for the past few seasons is still bewildering. We've kept players. We have this habit of keeping players too long. I think Lamela is a prime example, Winks, and we still got a lot of these guys in our team that are still there. So yeah, how we've still kept this fascist in our team is still mad to me. I don't even. The one thing I'll agree with Richarlison on is, as opposed to Lucas Moura, is his political views, because that guy. If I speak. But I will say also actually, I was going to call out the entire team for not, dropping back deep enough, but I can't even say that. That is entirely Lucas.
It's on him, and he's such a bonehead. And did you see the nonsense that Genius was spewing out as well? Not sure if you guys read it.
The sentiment bullshit.
Yeah, he was like, Spurs fans shouldn't criticize Lucas Moura. He gave us our best night in blah blah blah, yada yada yada. My guy, that was 4 years ago. That was 4 years ago in his only good season at Spurs. Yeah, he's gonna be remembered, but because you've done that doesn't mean that you can just play crap for the rest of your time at Spurs and cost Spurs in the game. And you're talking to me about Champions League. How is that relevant now?
I found that comment so stupid and faceless. Like the two things mean absolutely nothing. In 2 games where we've asked him to provide us positive actions, the guy's actually given us completely negative actions, and it's been to the detriment of the team. Why the hell are you bringing up a match that was like 4 years ago? Like, it's so ridiculous, man. I don't know, man.
It's crazy. Whatever. It's crazy. I don't know what Genius is on, man. I don't know what Genius is on. Like, I'm actually going to disagree with you, Jack. I think you can give Ryan Mason some stick for that sub. And it's a double-edged sword, right? Because I rate the fact that Ryan Mason, he's actively making changes in these games to try and get Spurs to be more of an offensive threat. Like, he went to the back 4 against Man United. Spurs looked potent. Brought on Danjuma, brought on Kulusevski, etc. But the reason why it didn't make sense to me is because Pedro Porro actually had a good second half, and he was a growing presence in the game. And you're already playing a back 5. That's a natural right wing back. It just doesn't make sense to put Lucas Moura there. It just didn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah. Regardless, I think that option shouldn't have been there in the first place. It's probably
You're right. They should have terminated this guy's contract, man. They should have terminated his contract. Honestly, send that hard N word back to flipping what's it called? Sao Paulo or Botafogo.
Manaus.
Manaus, yeah. Send them to Manaus, man. You don't even deserve Sao Paulo. Send that
to the jungle.
Yeah, man. Let him
to the rainforest
with the Jaguars and stuff, man. It's ridiculous.
But by the way, and we got a player that's just become a Serie A champion just now.
I've seen. And Ndombele is officially a Serie A champion. The Tottenham curse continues, man. What can we say, eh? What can we say? But guys, let's finish up on some manager chat, man, because obviously the rumor mill is turned once again this week. the Telegraph, the Dutch newspaper. Obviously, they reported that Arne Slot apparently interviewed for, or has been invited to interview for the Spurs job, and also that Spurs are now targeting Xabi Alonso as their number one pick. But then Dan Kilpatrick also said today that Spurs have now completed their due diligence on their manager search, whatever that means. I don't know what that means. So yeah, what do you guys think of those names that I've mentioned, and where do you see this this managerial search ending with?
Right.
I mean, I'm not really sure. Well, I don't know. I'm not really sure because, first of all, with there being no sporting director of football, we're in a situation whereby the process has been completely left to Daniel Levy, and I think this other new guy, something, is it Richard Munn or something like this? I can't remember his name.
Something, yeah.
So at this point, we're just hoping that they're taking enough leeway with regards to leeway and patience with regards to this process, because to be honest with you, the decisions that have been made in the last sort of two appointments, just it hasn't worked. And we're arguably in what I would say is probably a worse place off in terms of the playing squad, the team playing style. So it has to be something that I can kind of hear it with this due diligence sort of angle, but I also do feel that it's very important to make your moves, I think, quickly and effectively, so that you have prior sort of time to plan and prepare. I remember as far back as United getting Ten Hag. They were in a situation where they didn't know who was going to be the manager, but they managed to sort that out before the end of the season, and then that allowed then Ten Hag to start positively in the preseason. Obviously, it's a very interesting one now because you have all these different candidates. You have this compensation issue, which Bayern are trying to draw out with Nagelsmann, if it's happening. You have Arne Slot, who's only been managing for since 2019, and is still heavily involved in their season this year. And obviously Xabi Alonso, who's like a new-ish manager. I'm still not 100% sure about him from a tactical perspective, but he's got them into the last four in the Europa League. They're going up against Roma in the semi-finals, and he's staved off relegation and got them back into the sort of mid-ish table, I think. So, I mean, I don't think it's like terrible options. I'm not so keen on Alonso because I don't think he's managed enough yet. And I think he was only before this job, he was only the manager for the Real Sociedad B team, I think, from what I can remember. So I would prefer there to be other managers who were a little bit more experienced. I'd even go as far as saying someone like Amorim or Company. But then I just think personally we should be making world's move for Nagelsmann. I just don't understand why it's such a clear option in terms of someone who is clearly a coach. He's unique. He really is about the details, and that's something I think we've really, really missed. I think from a footballing perspective, someone who focuses on the nitty-gritty, the little stuff, which can help improve players, which I think the last person who was able to do that for us as a coach was Poch. Also, the ability to work with young players, and also to be someone who plays somewhat progressive, but has some tactical flexibility, which obviously, like we all know, with Jose, with Conte, pretty much wasn't there. So, in my opinion, I still think that we should be trying to make things work with that. I still need to read a little bit more about Slot, because sometimes I'm a bit funny about Dutch coaches and how their football kind of translates to the Premier League.
Yeah.
You know, Koeman did okay. Eric Ten Hag's doing kind of well, which I thought he would. But then you look at people like De Boer and you know, Ruud Gullit in the past. Sometimes it's just a bit funny. But for me, like, you can give these guys interviews. You can give them the opportunity to show what they're about. And you know, no matter what kind of a mess we're in, we you know, I still feel that we will always be an attractive proposition to managers, purely because of the nature of the club. We're a London club. You know, we've got this
Money,
big stadium
money,
with lots of
basically.
really good
Money.
players. And yes, the money. I think the money's a massive thing. But like, I think it's also important to remember that we need to make the right choice. It has to be the right choice, man, because we are at such a crossroads with the direction of the club and the squad. Lots of big changes need to be made, and lots of important changes and important decisions need to be made. So I think if we're gonna take this not too lightly and make sure that we take time to get the right guy, I'm all for it. But I also feel as well that we have to be taking into account the big decisions that have to be made this summer with regards to key players and, you know, the general running of the squad.
Mm. You know what though? It's an interesting point, right? Because there are names there, and I feel like we're in a much better position this time round in terms of the options that are available to last time. Because I feel like last time, even though we had a bad season, there was a limited pool of managers that Spurs could actively go for at that point in time that were keen on the move. I think this time round, you actually have options. And from what it looks like, they're interested. We heard apparently that Amorim would be interested. We've already known, and we know that Spurs are actively in talks with Nagelsmann, who is interested but wants some assurances. We know that that there is interest from other managers as well, right? So I feel like there are enough good managers that are being linked to the job for Spurs to not have to go for like a Jabi Alonso, go for like a Michael Carrick, even a Vincent Company. Like, I appreciate what these guys are doing at their clubs, but they don't really have enough skin in the game yet, right? And I feel like they look like they're on a good trajectory, but why not go for someone? Why not go for someone who can actually get Spurs playing to a good level and can get Spurs to become a better side with a lot more experience? I feel like we have the opportunity to bring someone that's actually got the credentials we need. Those managers are out there without us having to basically do the Arteta project, because I feel like that's what it's been envisioned, right? They look at what happened with Arteta and they want to replicate something similar at Spurs, right? But for every Arteta, you've got a Frank Lampard, you've got a Steven Gerrard. Genuinely, I'm not even trying to take the piss. You do. You do. You have a Steven Gerrard, you have a Paul Lintz, you have some of these managers who make such a big jump up without having that base level of experience at a top flight league, and it doesn't work. And I'm not necessarily saying that that's how it could end for Vincent Company or Carrick, but I would rather someone who's already been around the block. Do you get what I'm saying?
What's the
Agreed.
What's the one common thing about those three managers you named? They're all English.
What? English, yeah.
They're all English. Avoid that at all costs, I think, is probably the first thing. So get Ryan Mason out of that picture ASAP. I think it's hard because a lot of these managers give us the illusion that we are trying to go for this Arteta project, and maybe we are, but we need to see what happens in the background as well. What kind of changes need to be made there? I agree with Tops about Jabi Alonso not having enough experience, but I will say that someone that's played under Pep, someone that's very much a Pep player, and embodies embodies the philosophy and his ethos.
Yeah,
I'd say that might be a risk worth taking, provided you have the right resources and the right players that fit the mold.
Yeah, I think so. I think so as well. But I mean, one of my biggest issues with him right now is literally time. I've not seen enough of him as a manager. Like, I'm probably sure that a player like this, he probably reads the game, knows the game, and has played under enough quality managers to be able to have learned properly. But I just haven't seen enough in terms of management time, you know?
I fully hear you, and that is the reason why I'd probably say no to that. But at the same time, Mikel Arteta hasn't managed the football club at all before joining, and he's had to go through a lot of bumps in the road, and no one saw this come. No one saw the season coming. You'll be lying if you say you did.
No, you're absolutely right. No one saw it coming. I mean, to be honest with you, to turn that squad around the way they did, and they had to go through some dark days. They had to finish 8th, and it had to be horrible before they could turn it around. You know?
Yeah. And I think there's other managers, like you got Nagelsmann. I think that's not going to happen anymore. But then we're all looking at the one positive thing is the managers that we are looking at follow a particular profile or an identity or an approach to the game that last time we didn't have. We don't forget Gattuso, Nuno, all sorts. Amarim's an interesting one. I don't think he's as progressive as the other managers. He also plays the back three, which I don't think a lot of fans. I think our fans are fed up with, to be honest. So that's an interesting one to add to the mix. Arne Slot, he's going to be called Arne Slut every time we lose. So
and he's bald as well. And he's bald as well. And the thing is, I like from what I've seen. From the little I've seen, I like Slot. Right, I'm seeing his team scoring goals week in, week out, etc., etc. But I can't have another bald brother at Spurs. I see the jokes they're making on Ten Hag's head top. I'm already bored myself. I can't have my manager. It's too much ammunition for people to dunk on me. Oh, look at this bald bozo. He's bald like his manager and stuff like that. Nah, man. Nah.
You know what? Because that, I need it. Inject it. Because of that.
Every loss has a silver lining.
But no, genuinely, you're right though. I actually like, from what I've read, I like Amorim though. Like, using him as an example, I like Amorim. I feel like his teams, even though he's not as aggressively front-footed as some of the names that we've seen, right? His teams still play good football, even though there is some pragmatism to it, right? His teams still play out from the back, and they're organized, right? They suck teams in, but like you said, it's a case of whether the fan base are willing to accept another man who predominantly plays a three at the back. We don't know. But as far as what he's achieved in Portugal is concerned, he's doing fantastic things at Sporting, man. He's done big things.
It's not overly far off Conte's football, you know. It actually isn't overly. Conte at his best, I'll say. Not this season.
Hey man, I don't know if I need to see that, man, because all I need to know is that if he was potentially an option, I mean, if he can get any tune out of Porro from a defensive perspective, that will be enough for me, man.
I think he needed a good defensive system behind Porro. You know, someone in midfield that can cover a right centre back that is positionally adept as well, that can allow Porro to go forward and be protected. But you know, you don't have that, then Porro's going to be exposed, as we've seen.
You're right. But we'll have to wait and see how this pans out. Hopefully, we end up with a good manager, because I'm liking some of the names I'm hearing. Some of the other names I'm hearing, I'm not really liking too much though. So let's see. I'm praying to God it's Nagelsmann, but let's see. Guys, we're gonna obviously we've got Crystal Palace this upcoming weekend. Not really gonna take up too much time on this because I don't know about you lot, but my care for this season isn't as strong as it was before. Just win, honestly. Just win. Win, but try not to get into the Conference League spots if you can't get Europa League. Win and try and get Europa League football. Try and get Europa League football. If it's not Europa League football, drop me out of it. Finish 8th, finish 9th, finish 10th. All I couldn't care less. But I'm going to ask you two for your predictions. What are you guys going for Crystal Palace at home on Saturday?
Shit performance, 2-1.
Horrible performance. Palace don't normally play well at ours, but I'm going to say 2-2 draw. We're definitely conceding. 100% conceding.
I'm going for I'm going to go for a 3-1 win. I feel like the goals are back in the side, and Palace's record at our ground is pretty poor. I know they've got a resurgence under Roy Hodgson, but I don't know. I feel like we've got some goals in us. So yeah, I'm going to go for a 3-1 win. I'm going to go for a 3-1 win. But thank you for those who are still watching. Thanks, Papa Blankson, for your comments. Thanks, Mohammed, for your comments as well. Thanks, James Watkins, for your comments. Thank you guys for tuning in. This has been the New Spurs Order Pod. Make sure you check us out on all socials. New Spurs Order, one word on Instagram and Twitter. Touchdown Fracas on one word on Instagram and Twitter. But yeah, we are out. Take care. Peace out. And Enoch out.